Hello everyone.
Hi.
Can you see and feel the excitement in the room right now?
We're back for the final time. We won't have to do one of these for Jigsaw because we've already seen it, so it's not really a big surprise or reaction for us anymore. So this is the last time we'll be doing one of these post-film reactions. The whole idea of the post-film reactions has been it was a nice idea. These films have slowly kicked us to death, I think.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah, ending with So 7, aka So 3D, aka So the Last Chapter.
They say in comedy, start with your best joke and finish with your second best joke. I don't think this was the second best film.
No. Again, the ending was tapped on.
Yeah, this was if the rumours are true that after the decimation that 6 and 5 felt in the wake of Paranormal Activity, and compared to their Saw 1 and Saw 2's reception, then the script for 7 and 8 was compacted into this film. And you can see that because there are two through lines and there's just one thing that's just left hanging, even though the film starts with it and then never touches it until somewhere in the middle and then brings it back for the end. It's never adapted, never worked upon, so it's just, why bother, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel tired after this.
Even Yorick says that he is glad he's dead.
I know,
Yeah,
that was
Jesus.
tough. That was very...
It was so bluch that even me as a Saw fan, I'm just exhausted. I know I love this. I love the idea, but having seen all of the films now older, no longer being not allowed to watch them essentially, of my free will, I'm realizing that maybe this should have just been one film, you know. But
at most 3.
Yeah, the original trilogy, I guess, yeah. At a stretch, that's true, yeah.
Should we, so basically, essentially what killed, well, on top of the sheer quality of all of those, Paranormal Activity, should we talk about this one, well, the first one at least at some point?
Yeah, I think
I'd love to. That film definitely scared the hell out of me when I watched it. I watched it in the cinema, so...
See if we can get a hold of your brother to do the episode with, because your story revolves around your brother, right?
Oh, yes.
So we should...
Don't talk to me, I was like, what?
No, not you, sorry. Yann's brother. Yeah, we should see if we can get him back. We could do a Paranormal Activity.
Definitely. And then we can kind of put these two films together and see which ones we prefer, because it's quite a different style of film.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And starts a whole new type of obsession with horror film. This was torture porn, but also traps and, people mastermind serial killers. And then this is becomes paranormal.
And then look at what it inspires afterwards. I mean, look at the last 8 years really of film horror. Mainstream horror is a lot of paranormal stuff because of Paranormal Activity. I mean, Paranormal Activity was so successful it brought back Scary Movie. Because Scary Movie 4 was the last one. It featured the saw traps, right? That was the thing we learnt about in one of the previous episodes, that they reused the bathroom set from Scary Movie.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the last Scary Movie. I remember going to see Scary Movie 5 with a girlfriend at the time and her friends, and it was based around the spoof of Paranormal Activity. That was the whole setup, that they were getting haunted. It was the whole cameras in the house thing was the gimmick of Scary Movie 5. So that's how big it was. It was so big that it became spoofed as well, and that's when you know that you've affected something if you're being spoofed. Yeah, I think, yeah. But then you look at The Nun, The Conjuring, Insidious. Well, Insidious done by the two behind the original Saw movie, James Wan and Lee Winnell. That was their trope into, the paranormal genre,
I've never seen Insidious.
I don't think I've seen it either, but Or I might have seen Insidious 2, but
I think I've seen the first one. Is that with Patrick Wilson? And the poster is the kid with help on one of his eyes?
I think so, yes. But yeah, that's what happens after this. I mean, I feel that our review for this one might be a bit more strange because obviously the film was meant to be 3D, even though it's been retitled The Final Chapter, even the title card of the movie isn't changed, you know, like it says 3D and it feels there are so many moments that just are out of place now in the 2D format. Really out of place. Like shots that are
just... why did they do that? It's like, because this is supposed to be 3D. Like sometimes they'll like throw something toward the camera and you're like, why the fuck did they do that? And it's like, because it was supposed to be like that would come towards you. Like but yeah, watching it in 2D was weird because it was like what? Anyway. But we've got to leave something for the episode.
In 2000 there was because the advent of the new 3D with Avatar was a bit after that or the same moment. Is that the new 3D?
I'm going to find out right now because I mentioned it in 6. 2 seconds.
Because, we had...
Avatar was 2009.
Okay.
So, yes, this was the after effect of Avatar. God, Avatar was 2009?
Wow.
Bloody hell, that's a
lot. Was it like... Piranhas 3D and
3 double D. Jesus.
3 double D.
Yeah.
With David Hasselhoff in the swimming pool.
Shock horror.
Yeah. So, do we feel we have anything else to add to those pre-stuff?
No.
These have been fun. I've quite enjoyed doing these. If we ever do like a long marathon of movie again, I think this is a good idea to add on again. But these were quite nice to actually just let out our depression or euphoria. But yeah, this was...
Thank you for watching and enjoy the episode that comes right after this.
Yeah. Thanks for it.
So, hello everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Saw 3D. And if you don't have a 3D TV, you don't want to because you can't get it in 3D. It was only 3D for the cinema. I've yet to see anyone who owns the 3D Blu-ray or owns the Blu-ray 3D player anymore.
The Final Chapter, no?
The Final Chapter, as it was renamed.
Saw 3D or Saw 7. Bilingual corner, Saw 7 or Saw Set. I have what do you think this is? I have on my head.
Anouk, look.
Right now.
That's a sock.
Yeah.
It's a sock.
Sock.
Yeah.
Sorry, socks.
Yeah, so basically, Saw 7 is Saw Set, which is a childish way of saying chaussette, which chaussette is a sock.
All right. Oh, wow.
So, I'm guessing they didn't say that.
No, it would be Saucept, right?
Saucette, yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
right.
So, when they... I think when the franchise started, there were some discussions whether or not we would reach 6 and 7, and we had sausage and sock. In the end.
Okay, so to begin with, I want to give you guys a bit of context for this movie because I returned, since we're nearing the end, to the Saw wiki page, which is a fantastic source of all pieces of information that even me as a Saw fan I wasn't aware of, because it's hidden on some of the DVDs that a lot of versions don't have, like all the extras and so forth. And because we watched 6, 7, and probably Jigsaw on Netflix in the UK because it's available to us, we don't have the extras on this feature. Right, so a bit of context. There was plans for Saw 8 at the same time when Saw 6 was going. However, we've talked about it before, and we confirmed that Paranormal Activity came out in 2009, the year of Saw 6. So that is really what set a real dampener, because everyone was... Paranormal Activity had the same phenomena effect as Saw 1 had.
Phenomena.
Anouk always loves the undermine, eh? You're like...
Sorry, that came out of nowhere.
Oh, dear.
Phenomena.
So, at the box office, Saw 6 flopped. Like big style. So the plans for 8 were wrapped up and said, right, get the conclusion to the series in 7, and we'll also make it in 3D, which leaves a lot of difficulty with this film. Also, it was not meant to be Kevin Grutter returning for Saw 7. It was meant to be David Hackle. David Hackle, if we remember, was the director of 5. Kevin Grutter was meant to direct Paranormal Activity 2. But due to a contract clause when the David Hackle was dismissed, Grutter had to return and direct Saw 7, which he didn't want to do. He wanted to go on and direct Paranormal Activity 2. And I don't blame him, because if you had the chance to direct Paranormal Activity 2 back in 2010, you would absolutely take it. You know, that would be your big thing. Grutter's first directorial debut was Saw 6. So off the back of Saw 6, he got Paranormal Activity 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said in the last episode, I quite liked the style of 6. It felt new. It felt a bit fresh. Returned something to the series of Saw. But unfortunately, he had to return to do 7. And also, he changed a lot of the script. He threw out a lot of plans that were in Saw 7 already, much to the annoyance of the team, because a lot of the props and actors had been cast. Mm-hmm. So, this, I think, is the most difficult phase a production of Saw has had for a while. So that is the setup before we even reach the film, before we even get to principal photography. All of this is going on in the background. So what we've got is 2 films pushed into one, and we've got a director that doesn't want to be there.
That's not what
Not only he doesn't want to be there, is he had the chance to direct something that would go on and be the most memorable part of the Paranormal Activity series, right? 2 was huge. I haven't seen 1, I've seen 2. Because everyone talks about, you have to see Paranormal Activity. And then 2 came out, and boom, everybody was there.
Yeah, you should see 1 as well.
I will see 1
1
at
is
some
really
point.
good, I think.
This one has a new motif. So it's usually Hello Zap, but now we have scantily clad women in pink garments.
Yeah.
The first trap is exactly that, with the perfect kind of harness that she's used, so we get a perfect boobage exposure.
Yeah.
And then Jill's dream.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yeah.
And
It's
even,
ridiculous.
yeah. Even Bobby's, it's not really pink, but it's pinkish, that thing. And when the protagonist-ish as wife, that is in the pig furnace at the end. Lawrence Gordon is back.
Yay. I was right. Lawrence Gordon was meant to return in 6. However, he was unavailable. So he was meant to, when we get the scene of Jill delivering the letter, we were meant to see Gordon at that point. But they couldn't get him, so they left it a mystery.
Nice.
We get for the very first time a public stunt trap, a public one, the threesome trap.
Oh yeah,
The very first one.
Yeah. And that's like a decision to kill someone else.
I feel that
that you know.
the problem is with this, right, is Saw always opened with an opening trap ever since 2. 1, no, because we start in the bathroom, so I guess, but 2 onwards always set the precedence of, here's a trap, remember it's Saw. In this one, we don't start with the trap, we start with Gordon.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is not a good idea, because that does not set up Gordon as a protagonist. In my mind, it's like, right, Gordon's back, we're going to care about him.
So
nope.
So there's some crawling acting and some running acting.
Oh my
Then.
god.
Oh god,
Oh my
running
God.
acting is tough.
Oh my
because
god.
I've always felt sorry for actors that have to run, because of course you have is it a dolly? Is it called a dolly? When the camera is on a kind of-
That's the name of the actual thingy that makes it that it can roll.
Yeah.
Right.
The gear. Yeah.
So the camera's on a dolly.
Yeah.
And it's panning backwards, and it's probably not going very fast, so you have to pretend to run fast but actually not. So you have to be quite a good actor and physical artist to be able to run with the camera in front of you, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure why they wanted her to do it, because she's not a trained actor. She's not very good.
Well, she
either.
was an actress. I did a bit of research into her because I was like, who is this woman? And she was an actress in about the 80s.
Betsy.
Yeah. Jill Top Betsy Rant. I don't want to get her confused with the actress from Breaking Bad, who's Betsy Brandt, I think. She and then she took a break, and then this is kind of the first thing she's done since taking a break.
Betsy Russell,
that's it. I just feel that the thing that made it so awkward is her arms when she's running. They're like, audio listeners won't be able to see this, but like.
Ow.
Sorry, mate. I just punched Anouk
yeah.
by accident.
Yeah, they're moving just like you would someone who is trying to fake running on the Wii. Like,
oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're playing Wii Sports. That's a good shout, yeah.
I think we should probably watch and see what Costas Mandylor is in other movies to see if he has a bigger range.
I mean,
because
I read somewhere that he was meant to fight the mob in Saw, but they scrapped it in 6. That he was meant to take on the mob. I would have loved to see that movie, Costas Mandylor's Jigsaw versus the mob, like Goodfellas meets Saw.
I'm quite glad that they didn't.
No, that's
Get that
ridiculous.
done.
They stick with the whole.
I mean, it's nice. He was voted, I think, 2000 and some time ago, in a list of the 50 most beautiful men on the planet.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, he's quite good looking. He's quite strange looking. So I can understand that.
Use of mirrors when he's teaching his own thing that happened because of the end of the previous movie. Like, it was used with mirrors to make.
I didn't even notice that shot, actually.
Okay.
The thing in this film is that there could be great stuff going on, but you just don't care at this point.
Okay.
It's because there's a lot of the same stuff going on, so you feel like you've seen the film.
Yeah.
Like someone gets captured and they go through like a really long, like 5 rooms and they have to save someone at the end, and will they survive? And there are arrows pointing him to where he's supposed to go, and it's all been done before. And then while this is happening, there's like a B plot of detectives.
Oh my god, the B plot.
And trying to find out who the Saw is, who's the
Saw is.
who Jigsaw is.
I did notice the color palette on this one. Loads of green filters.
Yeah,
the image.
The whole series has had this green film on it, which is why in the original Jigsaw review I talk about it was nice to see a different color scheme. They've all had the same sort of really odd color effect on them, which is fine because if that's your color motif, go for it. I just feel that with the B plot in this film, I understand why they tried to write a story about the mob, and unfortunately it was crap. Well, not sorry, I didn't mean to say crap. I meant sacked. It was chucked away because it was being too ridiculous. But that shows me that even the writers knew it's like we can't make the detective stuff interesting anymore. We don't know what to do with it, and it's plain case here. We have nobody that we've met before. We get a guy introduced to us for a reason that we need a detective in it.
Yeah, that we don't care about because we've never met him. We don't know anything about the guy.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, the detective. I mean, this one. Yeah, this is an internal affair guy. So that changes. Sometimes it was the FBI or the whatever police. Now it's an internal affairs.
Yeah.
The whole point of this one, we get introduced to Bobby Dagan, who wrote How I Survived Jigsaw. And the thing, he's played by Sean Patrick Flannery. I told you when we watched it yesterday. So he was, he was not young Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade. That was River Phoenix. He was in the series, the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Right.
He was the lead on that, and he was also Powder. Have you seen that movie?
No, I don't think I have.
No, but I love River Phoenix. R.I.P.
No.
Yeah, but now I was back to Sean Patrick Flannery.
I didn't even know there was an Indiana Jones TV series.
Yes, there was.
Really? Bloody hell. Is it better than Crystal Skull?
I don't remember. I think I've just watched one episode. I think it's the same kind of level as the Briscoe County Junior series.
Oh, okay.
So it's the old style things. Anyway, in the Dead Zone series, he was the wannabe president.
Right.
So he has a nice TV record. This guy. So basically, the whole thing is that he never was an actual survivor.
Anouk was annoyed at this.
Well, I knew it before because I've seen this film years ago. But and actually, that's one of the storylines that I remember. That there's a guy that writes a book about how he's a survivor, and actually he isn't. What annoyed me is how much of the bullshit people were taking. Like, no one questioned him on it. And I know quite a lot of these celebrity people are kind of like, oh yeah, like, tell us your story, like, that's so brutal, and they really like pander to the audience, which is fine if you want to like do it, that's cool. But do you know what I mean? Like, people kind of, there are some people that will say this is bullshit.
Yeah, well,
Like,
nowadays especially, you'll have Twitter or all over it. You always have the other side of the argument. In fact, you usually hear the argument before you hear the actual problem. And nowadays, I feel,
yeah,
you'll see somebody be like having a different opinion, going, "I can't believe this is being said." Mostly because of the political world we're in right now with Brexit and all the things going over in America that we don't know enough about. But there's always been like, we have to let the other side be heard now because decisions have gone a certain way, and obviously here in Britain we had a 49 to 51% vote for something. So both sides, there's an equally loud opposite than there is an equal side positive.
Yeah, that's happening in Britain and America, like half pretty much.
Yeah, so you're going to hear, so it's now knowing that such a large number of people were on a losing side, they are going to be more vocal. So you do now, I think nowadays you do hear a loud cry of not the outrage, just like one side before you hear the actual story. Like, if I go online, I'll hear somebody complain about something, I'll go, right, what are they complaining about? And I go back and find what the story is. So in a world now, that story, you would be absolutely right. You would see somebody going, prove it. Also, the other thing that annoyed me is you see in the flashback where he decides that he might fake being a Jigsaw survivor, you see another survivor. I'm like, who are you? I'm like, the whole way through the Saw series, I've been thinking, right, these are the only people that John have tested. The only other film we get an idea of somebody he's tested before, which is the guy in the razor maze and the flammable jelly for the arsonist, in Saw 1, the flashbacks that we don't have any relationship to. We've never seen her.
In the flashback you're talking about when he's watching the survivor on television you're talking about.
Yeah, he's in the bar.
Yes, but I mean in the actual bar there's just him. There is no actual survivor.
No, I mean,
yeah, okay.
So before he decides to fake the test, he's like just a regular person in a bar, sees the TV, and there's women talking about how the traps changed her. But I'm like, we never saw you.
Yeah.
How the Saw franchise has now changed its mind and go, actually, there was maybe people have been tested that we didn't even see. I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah. We get a interesting kind of a meeting scene where this new Bobby guru is talking to people. And
that's what annoyed me, because I feel like if you were like, I've been to one of these group sessions where you talk through whatever you're going through, and if someone was talking like that, I'd be really pissed off, because it's like, please don't tell me how to take my trauma. Like, and I know it's a film and I know it's like, supposed to be make believe, whatever, but it just kind of annoyed me because Simone, the actor that has to cut her arm off,
the Scream Queens winner number 1,
Pound of Flesh girl,
she like looks at him like, all dewy-eyed, like, oh wow, you're saying such an amazing thing. It's like, no, are you serious? Like, everyone kind of takes his bullshit, and it's
she? Oh no, she gets pissed off at the woman that's like saying that I had to like kill somebody to get out.
She gets pissed off, but then when he starts talking, she's like, oh yeah, maybe you're right.
Oh, I didn't. I wasn't. Like, yeah, you're right.
Like, just the look that she's giving him is like, oh yeah, like, oh, maybe I was wrong to say anything. It's like, no, you weren't. Like, this is a really strange scene that someone's just decided to be like a messiah for trauma victims. It's like, please don't tell me how to take, like, it's a really weird philosophy, because the message that you're putting out is be thankful for the trauma that you've been through, and be thankful to the person that put you through that trauma, because otherwise you wouldn't be as strong as you are today. Sorry?
Well, that's what Jigsaw's message was in the beginning.
Right, but it's kind of saying, like, yeah, that's a really good message to put forward. Like, no.
Yeah.
Well, I think that sometimes you have to reframe what happened as that. That's how I reframed some bad stuff that happened in my life, and which helped me to continue go forward. But yeah, it wasn't before I actually was like, see, I need to let that go and just like be great. Well, I in a way ended up going for that kind of philosophy that is pushed in there. But I can obviously before I actually thought about that a while. I was in why? No, I'll just say
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say though that that's you being thankful for it happening, in the sense that you wouldn't take it away, because
it's part of you.
I wouldn't then turn to the person that said like, oh, thank you so much for putting me through that. Like, what?
No, I mean,
that's wrong. That's what I'm pissed off at. I totally get that. Like, once you've gone through something, you can take it as a positive, because it's like, oh, I'm stronger for that. Thank you so much for putting me through that, in a kind of like, you didn't win type thing. What pisses me off is that it's like, yeah, you should thank Jigsaw for putting you through that. It's like, wait, what? No, like, what the person was saying before was right, that like he actually you're scarred for the rest of your life, like something's taken away from you. Like, I don't think that you should thank the people that put you through the trauma. Anyway, it's just a really weird philosophy, and because it's not I mean, I know Carrie always comes back and he's like, well done, slow clap, I'm great. So that's kind of someone that's saying that's a bullshit thing to say. It's not really, I don't know, I feel like it should have been judged a bit more.
But the thing is as well that in the film, there's a throwaway line. This isn't the first time that Bobby Dagan has been to the meeting, because he says that, oh yeah, the guy who has been there, he's like one of the OGs, he's been there since the beginning, Dr. Gordon's character. So he's like, he's been to these meetings before. So I'm just like, what the hell were the other meetings like? He just started off like becoming this, did he start the meetings for the survivors?
And why is he in the background, like not sitting with everyone else? Like, he's like, I'm just going to watch you guys go through this because I'm not really in this group session. I'm just going to sit apart from you guys in the shadows with my cane.
Well, the real reason is because they want the dramatic reveal, Anouk's favourite thing in the world, for the Carrie Always character coming back. Yeah,
of course. Like, I understand why they did it. I'm just saying, there's reasons for doing something, and then it's like, because it's so obvious that you wanted a dramatic reveal, the illusion's lost. So why would you make it so obvious?
I feel that Bobby Dagan's character could have been interesting if he wasn't in this one.
They did it. I felt like they were rushing through it. They didn't have time to really like develop a character.
This is the shortest film of the entire series. This film runs exactly 90 minutes. This felt the shortest as well. But nothing was going on. I feel
nothing
that
was developed.
If you'd replaced Bobby Dagan's character with the health insurance guy from 6, that would have been an interesting story. I quite like that idea. Like, because then we would have felt sorry. Because could you imagine the whole like team and his wife on the carousel from 6? That would have been a more interesting trap, because we knew these characters more than we knew the people in the dog pit from 6. But here we've got something that has never happened in the franchise. We have a repetition of a trap, which is there's a woman who's stabbed in the neck with things.
Who you hate from the beginning, because she kind of pushes him to be someone that he's not on screen, because she's his like PA person, right? Like, the first time that we meet her, it's like, oh, you're annoying, like, because you're one of these people that try and make everything look like you need to kiss her after you say this really traumatic thing, because then the audience will feel you.
Well, there's this whole self-importance, self-aggrandizing thing about the Bobby guy. The AA meeting, he has his wife because it's actually filmed for a documentary. Like
It's a promotional thing for his book, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, promo for his book, indeed. So you've got his wife and the publicist who are giving him directions.
Right.
But yeah, it's the whole about me kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like Messiah complex.
The other trap repetition is the woman who's like slowly pushed towards the sharp metal rods.
Yeah, who we know nothing about. Like, we don't care about. The whole fear of it is that we don't want this person to die, or we don't want the person who has to save her to go through the trauma, right? Like, there has to be some connection to someone, but because we don't care about anyone, because we've just met them, you're just watching a trap, like someone go through horrible things for no reason.
Yeah, one of the things I've now thought, actually, and I'll talk more in depth about it at the end, when they're in the traps, do you guys think that's scripted? Or do you think there was definitely a point in the series where those might have been scripted dialogue scenes with the traps, but as they go on, what do you think? Do you think there's actual dialogue?
I've always thought that there wasn't dialogue, because it seems a little bit like, okay, now can you just like scream and say certain words and just keep doing that for us? And then they go back and see which things they can edit together.
The one that made me question that was the blindfolded, the friend, who is, I don't know what his role is in the actual book deal thing, but his best
He's his
mate.
best friend, yeah.
The one that was sitting next to him and giving him the beer during the flashback.
Yeah, his buddy.
Yeah.
Who's just has to walk the plank.
Which is funny. Did you have this on television? We had many years ago in the 80s a TV game called the Chevalier du Labyrinthe. So basically you had someone with a mask and off camera someone giving him directions, and it was all CGI, 80s CGI, and he had to move between
Oh my god, yeah, we did. It was called it was like Night something. Oh, what was it? I used to watch it all the time. And
Didn't we watch like
some YouTube clips on it?
Yeah,
it's like Nightfall or something like that. It was like were they like in a dungeon and it was kids? Yeah, we had that.
Yeah,
I need to find the name of that. I think it is Knight's Quest. Oh,
Maze maybe. Or
that's quite funny because in the Jigsaw episode we talk about Fort Boyard.
Yeah.
And in this one, we brought back to another game show.
I mean, it is a little bit like a game show, so I can understand why they brought these back.
On top of those motif, pink underwear and boobies I talked about earlier, there are some. Is it just me or there? So the first trap is a threesome. There is another one which is a foursome. With a car, which is the first time we actually see a direct action and consequences. So there's the guy who is stuck in the car with glue.
Chester from Lincoln Park, right?
Yeah.
What's his name? Because obviously he passed away last year, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard that, yes.
Chester, do you know Anouk?
No, you need to check. You need to.
So there is, as always, a timer. The guy is glued to the seat, and he's sitting at the front of the car. He has to go into the front truck to activate something that will stop the car. But under the back tire, there is one girl that will get crushed if the car actually goes. Behind the car, there is a guy with hooks on his arms and face, just which is reminiscent of a previous trap that we had. And in front of the car, a guy on a wall. So that's four people in one same trap.
Yeah, Chester Bennington is the guy's name.
Oh yeah.
Also, the name of the TV show, Yann, was called Nightmare, but it was spelled Night, K, N-I-G, as in the night, and then Mayor.
Cool. Yeah. No, Les Chevaliers du Labyrinthe was kind of maze nights.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It was incredibly difficult to win.
Okay.
They would like go left. Oh, you're hungry. Pick up some fruit.
There are some multiple, just like in the previous one, CCTV and screens that people are watching other people, family members or friends, they being dismembered and stuff.
Yeah. Also, to do with that is the beginning with the the public trap, I do like the touch that they've kept it within the timeline, because you don't see anyone with iPhones. You just see people with flip phones. And this is, if people weren't paying attention to the Saw timeline, this would be in 2010. Didn't the iPhone and the iPod Touch come out like in 07 or something like that? Like they were not by 2010. They were out before that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But I discovered through research that scene is meant to be a flashback. That scene, it happens while John Kramer is alive.
Okay, so there's.
It's meant to be a test with him and Kerry Elways. They're like standing in the crowd watching.
There is some unity of time being smashed, also in this one. It doesn't feel as there was, but okay.
We had our first ever dream sequence fake out, which is the first ever for the Saw franchise.
Dream sequence, yeah, and of course she's wearing this tiny, close.
We can see the tits.
Don't need any 3D effects for that, do we?
She's got fake tits, so you can see her nipples like through this tiny like ridiculous pink bodycon dress, which is her pajamas, of course, and she basically a spike goes through her middle and she gets ripped apart, and it's disgusting. But there's a point where it's just like, oh, for God's sake!
It's a train.
Yeah, that's an interesting trap. Well, it's not a trap; it's just murder. But
well, Hoffman is let's remember, Hoffman is a murderer. Like Hoffman killed Seth.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it's a bit. Have you ever seen Time Cop? The way the time machine goes is on rails like this, or before there were dollies, it was actual rails. Camera.
Yeah.
But obviously with the running, you would see the rails, so that weren't working. But going back to the trap with the 4 metal rods, whether it was the publicist or the...
That's the thing, you don't know who you don't care, do you? You're like, who's this person? It's one of them.
Yeah, you don't remember for sure.
Yeah.
The metal rods moving are triggered by the decibels from her shouting, because Bobby has to remove a key which is at the bottom of her stomach with a fishing hook. And it reminded me of some lithographies I've watched. It reminded me of like secular torture devices. Have you ever seen that one where there is a guy is on his back on a kind of mortuation table or something, and there is someone with a small incision at where you would cut for the appendix, and they remove a bit of the intestine.
Oh, Jesus.
And then they have kind of a rotating, like a barbecue. They attach the bit of the intestine to that rotating thing, and then they rotate, and the intestine is removed from the body 1 centimeter at a time.
Oh, Jesus.
That is horrible.
That's barbaric.
Jesus. Okay.
What?
Yeah, or they would like stitch a bucket, a very hot bucket to your ass and have a rat inside.
I know that one. Yeah.
So the only way for the rat to survive the heat of the bucket is going through you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
in Game of Thrones as well. That trap. That's in a Game of Thrones scene as well. Yeah, they used that.
Is back, not that much, but we get to see John with or without an H, doesn't matter really, but with a backwards cap.
That's the best line Tobin Bell's delivered in the entire series, with the whole without an H, with an H, whatever. It's great. Also, the woman that comes up first, it's Sarah without an H. So what? You're Sarah. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what? That's not a real name. You're not Sarah without an H.
I love how.
Can you be a Sarah without an H?
You can be anything you want, Adam.
Yeah. Well, I've read that. Also, the headwear is wearing is just.
Yeah, he looks like a
rapper.
No, he looks like the comedy joke that is Steve Buscemi dressed as like a teenager. He's like, "What's up, fellow teenagers?"
Oh yeah.
With a skateboard and the backwards hat.
Yeah, I don't know why they dressed him like that. It's like that's not Tobin Bell at all, and also that's not disguising him. So why would you put him in that? It's just really weird for me.
Yeah, the second movie where they are educational. So in the 6th, we learned about the doctors and that you had to pay to stay healthy.
In Asia, yeah.
Now there's this a quote which is interesting. So in ancient Egypt, if you were speaking under oath, you were required to say, "If I'm lying, take me to the quarry." I'll tell you what it means. It means if you knowingly lied on the public record, you were subject to a period of enslavement.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Tobin Bell knows a lot of stuff. Sorry, John Kramer. I'm getting confused.
I mean, that is a really good law. I think we should bring it back.
Well, I mean, it kind of does still exist. If you're lying on record, then you've committed a crime.
Yeah, there's this.
So I guess you go to prison.
It's perjury, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's testifying under
Oath.
Yeah, no, but under penalty of
imprisonment.
Perjury, I think. No, I don't remember what the term is. We've heard that recently a lot with.
I think perjury is when you're on trial and you give you lie on the stand, but you've already given evidence. So you basically it's like a fancy word for contradiction.
Don't they talk about this in how to make a murderer?
Probably. That's coming back as well. That's like this week as well. It'll be out by the time the series is out, so give that a watch.
Oh no! The other one, it's in the O.J. Simpson case. Didn't they bring someone back to be like, you committed something, perjury?
We don't
guessing.
know. We're not a lawyers podcast.
No.
And we've not watched enough law films to know what the terminology is.
Oh, but we've heard it a lot recently with the hearings.
Probably, yes.
Under with all the certified it's like if you actually didn't say the truth, you're actually going to jail. I don't remember what the term is, but anyway.
Anouk started by in this film saying, "Oh, they've got a good actor. Finally, they finally got somebody who's a good actor." And then there's a scene in the film that blows that out of the water. Let's talk about that scene, Anouk.
Yeah, so he takes Jill to a safe house, which looks like a motel, and he sits on the bed next to her, and then gets up and calls her crazy. Crazy is probably said like 4 times. And it's
so bad.
It's like 2 people are trying to get a scene out, and I don't know what happened, because I feel like in the beginning he was really good, and then for some reason here it's like he can't do angry, or he can't do like fed up or pissed off, because as soon as he got pissed off, it's like, whoa, what are you doing?
It was like watching an acting class. You know, when you go up and present a scene and then the teacher gives you notes, you know?
Yeah.
What we call performance class. It was like watching one of them, because he sat down, but he didn't sit down for any reason, because he was just going to stand up in a minute because he was going to get angry. And then he walked to the wall, then he paced a wee bit, and then he sat down again. I remember doing stuff like that, and I got notes for wandering, just wandering around the scene. It's like, you don't need to do it. It's distracting.
Always sit down or stand up with a purpose. Otherwise, just be still. Like, there's no reason for you to move. And it just makes you think about the actor being nervous, which again then just destroys the whole illusion of the scene.
Oh, the idea that Kevin Grutter was there reluctantly, like forced into making a movie. It's almost like he was just like, yeah, it's fine. Go to the next.
No, definitely. It was literally like, that's the first take, and he was like, yeah, all right, let's carry on.
Yeah.
I want this over and done with so I can hopefully do Paranormal Activity 3.
Yeah, maybe.
I found it. It's when testifying under the penalty of felony.
Penalty of felony, okay.
Yeah, and what you have misdemeanors and felonies, the types of crimes in the US.
Yeah,
misdemeanor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which are lesser crimes, and then a felony is a bigger crime. I know that much.
More so, yeah.
Yeah.
What do I talked about that. Oh, well, so the tech team in this one, we got some fancy tech terms for the time, like IP, proxy, and stuff. Wow.
Well, I was watching that, I'm like, I was almost going to go to Yann, it's like, is she talking rubbish? Because I was like, let's hope he's gone through a couple of proxy walls, so we won't be able to backtrack it. I'm like, sorry, what?
I think that's actually a thing.
Yeah, it is.
I know it's a thing, but I'm like,
No, but it's that's no standard. I mean, they could have faked it, which they didn't. But it's funny now. I'm starting to watch more and more videos on YouTube. It's like a lawyer deconstructing lawyer Hollywood movies or MD House.
I love those videos.
Is that
They're great.
It's the series where the guy also does the accents as well. It's like it's the whole thing. They're really good. Yeah, we'll link them because they're absolutely worth your time. They're really good.
They do doctors as well, watching like Grey's Anatomy and House
ER
and stuff.
and
like, he just stops it and he's like, "You would never do this in a hospital."
It's like you wouldn't be doing that in the ward.
It's so well done. It really is.
Yeah. To go back on a point Yann made with the decibel thing, it's like the only department left that could save anything of Saw, that has the best time, that is the most creative, is the trap design team, the props team, right? So when they come up with the idea of let's use sound, they've never done that before. That's a great idea, but it's wasted. They put it in some rubbish thing where like you speak things go into your neck, you know? I feel that sound could have been, if sound was an idea, say maybe back in 3, it would have been used in a much more inventive way, but I just feel by now they're like tired. And it also might have been one of the things that Grutter threw out, you know? It might have been like, because they reused sound twice, because they used the guy who's blindfolded, he has to speak to him. But the whole idea of the decibel thing could have been a really interesting trap, actually.
Yeah, I think as well, like, the crime doesn't match the trap.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people get, like, a really bad rap, and it's like, oh, well, you got the most awful... Like, for example, the trap where she gets burned alive because, she's the wife of someone who lied?
Yeah, that's when you know that Hoffman is definitely doing this, and it's just barbaric, because John would never have killed her.
Not in that way, at least. He might have killed her in the sense of like, okay, sorry, I don't know, I can't remember his name. The main guy. Bobby, thank you. Bobby needs to learn a lesson, so I'm going to kill his wife. But he'd do it immediately. But in this one, she dies slowly and painfully.
I mean, Jigsaw never killed innocent people. I mean, even in 6, we had the family and the sister who weren't killed.
That's true. They were let go.
They were let go. He was like, "I'm sorry to have kept you here." John came on the screen and was like, "I'm sorry to have kept you here and put you through this ordeal, but I need you to do something for me, right?
You need to decide.
You need to decide this man's fate."
Yeah.
And he didn't kill them. But here Hoffman kills his wife, who didn't know, which is even worse, because you're like, oh, the wife knows.
She didn't know, exactly. So she was there like, I can't believe you lied to me.
Yeah.
Oh, now you need to save me by putting spikes in your pectoral muscles and pulling yourself up.
You better save me. And then... Oh, sorry.
I also feel like that trap was doomed to lose.
Oh, yeah. The whole fact when he lies about the putting it through the pectorials, you could almost hear the laughter in Jigsaw's tape when he's like, "As you said, the pectoral muscles will hold the weight." It's like...
Especially because I actually didn't think about this, that when he's trying to put them together, it's not like an easy
it's a bit
pull together. It's like he has to use his pectoral muscles
to
bring them together, and that's why they rip. And I was like, that is fucked.
One of the first exercising tools I ever used were my dad's old, and they were like in a 60s style box called chest expanders. I'm going back to them Dunfermline soon. I will get a photo of the chest expanders to put on the Instagram when this episode comes out. But what it's essentially, it's the things you pull. They're like big, massive springs, and you pull them apart, work your forearms and your chest. It's the exact same thing that Anouk's talking about. The whole like you've got to push in so it expands.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and that's the only way to save her. And so it's literally like Hoffman has put this trap together, but okay, so in film wise, it makes sense because it's the last trap, right? So it's the last thing that the director wants you to see, someone burning alive in like a huge furnace
that looks more like
it's a great look
and
though,
it looks
right?
like a pig.
And then there's the nice Back to the Future homage with the cable.
yeah.
Do 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 do.
Yeah, I mean, that music would not have worked.
Could you imagine that?
Back to the Future.
Just swap them out. This the scene in Back to the Future is like do 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 do.
Yeah. But I think that shows how tired this film is, because you basically know that the only reason why they're making this trap so ridiculous is to have like a really huge finale. Because it's his last trap, right? So it's like, you're going to lose and I'm going to make you watch your wife being burned alive in a huge pig furnace.
Yeah, she would have a trap if it was John. She would have a test. If she was going to be tested, there would be a way for her to get out of that. Like, you know, how Obby had.
Right, but also Obby was guilty of something.
Yeah.
So because she wasn't,
It's just murder.
But yeah, it was basically murder. And he made her him watch. I feel like that's the only reason why this trap was so intense, because it was the last trap, it was the finale, it was his finale, and now he just has to live with the fact that his wife is dead because of him, blah blah blah. And then do you know what, like, scenes are just running through into each other. I can't remember if that is after or before Jill is dead.
It's just it's like simultaneous. They cut in and out, I think.
Oh yeah, that's true. So he loses and so does Jill.
Yeah, they're kind of together.
Yeah.
I think Jill's is last because we have more of a connection to Jill. That was funny. So the whole scene where Hoffman, oh my god. So earlier on, after the scene Yann talked about with the consequence effects of the trap, Hoffman hides at the location, explodes a bomb, hides a body in the room to make it look like him, then hides in a body bag.
Yeah, like how long how did you know that body bag was going to be immediately looked at? Or do you know what? There are so many plot holes, and I think so with plot holes. I think some people nitpick, right? Yeah. Which is annoying, because it's like, well, you know, this is Hollywood. This is a film. Like, just suspend your disbelief. But if you're watching it and you can't suspend it, I think that's the problem with the film.
That's a good way to look at it, actually. Yeah.
That's always how I look at it. Like, if I'm not believing it while I'm watching it, I'm not like, what is the point? Like, and it's got nothing to do with money, because we know that you've got $12 million.
This was the most expensive Saw movie.
Well, see, it's got nothing to do with. I mean, I understand with time and with production thing, but they kind of want you to suspend your disbelief with so many of the films that Hollywood puts out. Why should I now? So that's the way that I always look at a film. Like,
would you say? Sorry, I cut you off.
Well, I was kind of finished, so don't worry.
Would you say that this series has been Hollywoodized? And at what point?
Yes, of course it was.
What point did it get Hollywoodized? 2.
Well, I think after 3.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I go with that.
And it's tough because you know what, like, Hollywood makes incredible movies all the time, and there are so many amazing stories. So I'm not going to totally screw on the whole Hollywood name with the word Hollywoodize, which kind of what it's doing. But what I mean by that is when they take something that was supposed to kind of be an indie film. I know that it was picked up by a bigger production company, Saw 1, but it kind of then becomes a little bit more like a cash grab, and you're feeling it while you're watching the film, and that's a problem. If afterwards you think back and you're like, okay, well, actually that was a bit of a plot hole, that's different, because while you were watching it you were enjoying it, right? Which I feel like I've been doing till like Saw 4 maybe. I think 5, 6 and 7 I've just been really aware that this is shit. While watching it, I think that's a problem. When through watching a film, you're thinking, I hate this. That is when you've really... And it sucks because you don't really know who to blame, because there are so many people involved in a film. But it's also like the director didn't want to direct this film. So that kind of answers all the questions, doesn't it?
Yeah, okay, that's done it.
I'll try to find a picture of this, but in the Navy, when for the first time with the ship you're on, you cross the equator line, there is the whole, it used to be 3 day, well, it used to be a week, nights 1 day, ceremony, you have to pay your respect to Neptune and all this kind of weird stuff. And I have a picture of me in a position which looks a lot like the pectoral muscle trap.
Oh God!
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, playing with maracas.
Oh.
I need to
See if you can find that. That'd
Yes,
be good to
please.
find.
That'd be amazing.
There is that's the second time this happens now. So earlier we talked as in the Predator, there is the Lawrence A. Gordon School.
Yeah.
In this one, we see Hoffman, who just killed an officer and uses her to enter a room by showing, just like I forgot to talk about this funny element in the Predator, and the Predator is in the van, just killed a guy and uses his thumbs up to say that all is fine to the driver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's a hidden Easter egg again.
I just feel that I feel that the Costas Mandalor's having great fun in that whole thing. Like, yeah, I'm going full out psychopath. Like, that's when it moved. It's like I'm not watching a Saw movie anymore. You know, this is just a murder, like Jason sort of character again.
Yeah, because you're not watching a story, you're just watching traps. And I think that's what really made Saw go downhill, because it just became about how gruesome can we make the traps. And that probably started with the fact that the philosophy of Jigsaw just apparently was something that should be forgotten. Because it's got nothing to do with any of the traps for a long time, actually. That, like, innocent people have died. Innocent people have been captured. Crimes do not fit the trap. So you're not really watching a storyline. You're watching the traps.
Yeah, and it's just people in a series of traps because for some weird reasons that interconnect at the end. And yeah, that whole concept of appreciating life is getting very, very blurry.
Yeah, exactly. So, actually what hit me was that Jigsaw died in Saw 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's crazy if you think about it.
There's now been more films of him dead than there has been films of him alive.
Yeah, literally. That's hilarious to me.
Yeah. Shout out to in the AA meeting to the guy who survived the amount of blood trap from one previous movies is there.
Notice how the female who survived is not there because she's probably busy doing Dexter.
Oh,
or
definitely.
she's too much money to get back.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they spent a lot of the money probably to get Carrie Elway's back and on the 3D filming.
As soon as I saw him as well, actually that annoyed me, and I think you've already said it, but you do really think that you're going to follow him as a protagonist.
Oh, and the marketing, I remember. The buzz that Carrie Elway's was back was huge.
Oh.
Everyone was so excited. We're like, we speculated for years. We've assumed he's been there.
Yeah.
We're finally going to get to see what was going on, and it's reduced to a 4-minute, less than that montage.
Yeah. I've watched. Was it the Honest trailer or some review of Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom? On all the interviews, we've got dinosaurs, a volcano, and Jeff Goldblum is back. And Yann Malcolm is back. And then when you watch the movie, it's like 10 seconds.
Yep.
Oh. Okay.
It's cheeky. It's like, well, we didn't lie to you. You know, when you have that image, it's kind of the most annoying thing that I could ever imagine that someone ever does. You know, someone's just like, well, I didn't lie to you. He did come back. Like, fuck you. Annoying.
There is a great joke which I will link in the episode because I'll give credit to the Scottish comedian who does a joke about Ryanair. And he's like,
oh yeah,
you think Ryanair is super cheap, but it's like there's all these extras. Could you imagine if the guy who ran Ryanair owned the pub was like, oh, how you doing? You want a pint? That's 69 pence. Yeah, that does seem a bit cheap, doesn't it? Will you be wanting a glass? That's £4. Like, and it goes on and on and on. I'll link the guy. It's a really good joke. It's a really good sketch.
Nice.
A really good
hilarious.
stand-up routine. So I'll find that and link that for this episode.
That is hilarious.
Because he does other bits and bobs, you know.
I actually take EasyJet a lot because my mum's in Berlin, so I do a lot of like European flights, and of course going to London sometimes. And of course, if you have more than one bag, you're charged like a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
And that is literally like, they're so strict at EasyJet because there are some other airlines that like, there's like a smaller French one who it's not owned by like, is it Air France?
Air France, yeah.
Nice
It's
accent
not
on that,
owned.
Anouk.
Merci. It's not owned by them, but so it's like really, really small. They only have like 10 airplanes. But like I had my cabin hold and like, you know, like a little bag.
Yeah, accessory thing.
Yeah, exactly. But and they didn't care. But it's only EasyJet, and I think Ryanair does this too.
Oh, of course.
That like they really try and get money in any way.
Yeah, because they have the option now. The small French one you're talking, because you don't have the option to pay. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Just like the Titanic, EasyJet, Ryanair, they invented the third class. So basically, they don't do transfers, those companies. So basically, if you have two flights with a stop in the middle, and you don't pay for your cabin luggage to be added, and sometimes if you use external third-party services, you can't. Basically, you depart, then you arrive at your first stop. You have to take your luggage again from the carousel, and if you have just like half an hour between the two flights, it's a nightmare.
Oh wow!
That happened to me a few times. I never missed the following one, thankfully, but basically. It's a shame. Like, yeah, it's not that more expensive, but sometimes you just can't have the option. Actually,
The thing is, though, third class was kind of invented in the industrial era because it came about with trains. So when trains came into Britain, there was like first class, which is like your extravagant, second class, which is like just a seat, and then third class, which was like basically a box where you would stand and you had like a couple of seats, like at the back of the train. So it came about when everything started to get popular, and as flights got popular, they're like, right, we'll invent what my dad calls
cattle class.
cattle class. Correct.
Cattle class.
That's what
a
my dad
great
calls
one.
it. Yeah.
That's a great one.
I was trying to remember. I was like, he's cow class? No, it's cattle class. Yeah. You know, it is ridiculous in the whole. You think you're going to get this, and you don't. A bit like this movie, you know, you get shortchanged.
I mean, the thing is as well is that with Ryanair, I don't know how we've got onto the subject, but
I think we were talking. I made the joke about the guy about Ryanair and the extra. You think you're going to get this, but you're not.
yeah, I feel like with Ryanair, sometimes so many people, I don't know how it works, because sometimes you have so many people getting priority that it doesn't really feel like priority, because you're kind of going in at exactly the same
That's right.
speed as the people that, you know, so you kind of just spend £10 for no reason. But also with EasyJet, it's only £10 and you are actually boarded much quicker than the other. So
Yeah.
that's why there are certain things that you just need to experience and then learn. Like, you kind of have to make the mistake, and then, because usually I'd go with Ryanair because it seems cheaper, but actually it's not as comfortable.
Well, the thing is, before the seats were not attributed, so you could just wait. You had to get in first to make sure you had the seat you wanted and the space in the overhead lockers. Now you have space because you paid for it.
That's what the boarding is. It's to get access to the overhead locker.
Yeah, but now they added, I think you need to be an EasyJet Plus customer, and if you're one, you can have add a plus one, where you can have, as part of the whole scheme, priority security also.
Okay.
Which is even better.
Yeah, that is good because you can just skip all the queue at the security check-in.
Yeah,
it's not really useful in Scotland because ours is quite quicker depending on when you go. But anywhere else, that's quite useful. Like, I can imagine that in London would be ideal.
there's the customs that always very annoying. All those boxes and always plenty of people that's just annoying.
We've got distracted again.
Sorry.
Yes. In this one, I don't remember if it happened before, but there was a trap that was set in to kill the SWAT team that came. So with those.
Like the staircase from 2.
Yeah, a bit like this one. Yes, it was like stuff that fell into acid, and it just there was smoke and everyone died.
I mean, that was a twist, right? The writing on the wall was not for Bobby; it was for the SWAT team that were going to come and find the place, which we don't get. That's not explained. You just see on the door it says, "I warned you."
Okay.
I reckon that's meant to be a twist for the SWAT team.
Okay. Well, there was a real story that I've read many years ago of a guy who really was so disliking the police so the guy was killed. It was the mob lord or something. The guy was killed, so he was dead. The police went to investigate his house, and when they entered a basement, the whole thing exploded.
Oh my God.
So he got some cops after his death.
Jesus.
That's the kind of stuff happens at the start of Sicario also.
Yeah, nice.
We get a double game over in this one.
Yeah, we do.
First time, double game over.
I guess that's to make up for the lack of Saw 8.
I quite like how they gave Carrie always the last game over, though, to be fair.
Yeah,
just because of the whole bullshit of production side and all this, like the lawsuit, and then, but also for the audience, it's like, the person that was in a trap is now the trap. But I mean, they do this. They've done it, what, now 3 times?
Well,
it's like, oh, now it's Amanda. Oh, now it's Hoffman. Oh, it's always the whole time.
It's
Jesus.
It's interesting, this one, because Hoffman's one is for the benefit of himself or of the audience, because he just killed Jill. She's dead at that moment. So
I like in that scene how Jill, and I mean ironically, I like how Jill has a flash. You get, how when somebody dies in the series, we get loads of flash cuts of what scenes that she was in, right? She's hardly been in enough scenes to justify that. Like, it's near enough every scene she was in is in the flash cut, and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it didn't make sense either, because it's like, well, she's quite a new character, so we don't really need to remind ourselves of how she started out. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's just like, bye, Jill. Don't really care. Nice running.
It's a shame, though, because that was Jigsaw's wife. So, if you really think about it, that could have been epic.
It could have been really good, and could have been a really good storyline.
Yeah, and that's why Hoffman, dies of starvation pretty much, because he kills Jill. And that's what Jigsaw says. Like, if anything happens to Jill, you know what to do. It's like, oh, you just tapped that on because it was easy.
we get to know who wrote the "I Know Who You Are" note to Hoffman. Then
at long last, what was that? 5 it was in.
Was it?
Yeah, it was 5. Because it was when Strom was investigating, because he thinks it's Strom that sent that.
Strom, forgot about him.
Yeah, the guy that looks like Detective Strom, whose hand was being dabbed all over the place. Yeah.
Oh, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was just stupid stuff.
So this is 3D, right? So loads of 3D designed scenes were injected in that film.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the guts coming out of the first victim.
The train thing.
The train, probably.
The explosion. You had, like, debris coming into the camera.
Yep, especially in the scene where Chester is reaching for the thing to stop the clock in the car. You see the hand, obviously. I reckon we're meant to see that the thing is farther away, like his hand is nowhere near it. Mm-hmm. All this sort of stuff. They just look out of place now. They just take you out of the movie in this.
And when he throws the saw into the camera,
the thing is as well. Yann said in the last episode that they wanted to turn Saw 6 into 3D post, but even the director was like, "I don't like the idea of 3D," and they've got the same guy again. So why on earth would they? I know they did 3D for so they could charge. Probably, the real reason I think they did 3D is that they could charge more for a ticket at the door. Yeah, but make more money.
Usually there is this stereo conversion thing that you can see when you watch the credits immediately if it was real 3D or fake.
This
3D.
one's shot in 3D, I know that.
Well, probably because they actually designed the stuff like with when the Billy with the cage like pops in the window thing, and everything. Some stuff were designed, whereas some movies they're just absolutely not designed in any way, how cinematography wise or everything to be 3D, but just it adds some price, some
to the ticket.
Yeah.
I feel that we are fast approaching the end here.
Yeah, just have one. So there is a dental chart at some point.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you noticed that something that you would usually do that he does. I don't know if it's conscious in that film or not. He's supposed to be. Yeah, I think it is removing like his 2 of his teeth, and he's like ramming his shoulder into the wall.
Yeah.
Which is for the first time something that makes sense. So one pain will disguise the other or something. Because the guy who had the choice to have his spikes in his eyes or, did it one at a time. Well, actually, he only did one and then it was just exploded.
Yeah. I thought
this is the one that made sense.
I thought that was more that he couldn't physically do it himself. He's like, I don't know if you guys haven't seen Castaway, have you?
Yeah.
You know the bit when Tom Hanks with the tooth? The same kind of thing. He can't manually do it, so he smashes into the wall, so the force of moving pulls the tooth out. I thought it was a bit of that. But you might be right there as well, Yann. Disguise one pain for another. That's a good shout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was Kostas Mandylor was a professional soccer player in Europe.
Oh, nice.
Really?
Yeah, before the an accident. And it was in 91. I was chosen by People as one of the 50 most beautiful people in the world.
Wow.
You know, Matt Smith started like that too. He was a soccer player and then he had an accident and now he's an actor. What is it about soccer players becoming actors?
I know, it's all well, look at Neymar. Neymar will be the best dramatic actor in the world. Oh, mama, oh, my knee. Get off
He's
the
not
floor.
Italian.
I know, but I just meant you're screaming for your mum, because that's what
rappers.
a lot of people do before they die. They in war, they cry for their mum.
No.
So
It's in Private Ryan.
we are arriving to the end of this fantastical, majestical journey.
I feel that this was not the end that it should have been.
No.
This is not the end.
First off, we'll do the ratings. Anouk, Yann, saw 3D the final chapter good, bad, or just plain standard? Anouk.
It was really bad. I don't even think that it's standard. I think that it was because it wasn't like meh, okay. It was like actually this was bad. It was lazy. It was tired. They missed out on so many things because it could have been so much better, but they decided not to go through with it. And I'm sure there are loads of really intelligent people on the set, so I don't know what the excuse is. I think it is because the director didn't want to direct it.
Yep. Yann?
Yeah, I know the whole centric thing looks exactly like the previous one. I think they added the cleavage, just like, oh, we're losing steam now. Let's just hand some boobies and stuff.
Definitely.
Do you guys remember that the first draft for Saw 5 was that the female test subjects were to lose their t-shirts at some point? So, also the writer of this goes on to write Piranha 3D. Remember, we're dealing with this.
Have you ever seen the extras episode with Patrick Stewart?
Oh my god! And I've seen everything. She's on her bike. She's on her bike, and then I look at her, and bam, her clothes are gone. and she crabbles on the floor to grab them, but it's too late. I've seen everything.
I've seen everything.
What's that series about, Serpent?
Oh dear, it's really good. I love that series so much.
So good.
Yeah,
if you see the bloopers of that, Ricky Gervais cannot stop laughing.
I mean, it is Patrick Stewart. You're like, this is Sir Patrick Stewart.
I know, it's like the most amazing actor.
Talking
like
about
Shakespearean
trained
actor.
God.
You had both of them. You also had Ian McKellen,
You must know the lines. You cannot have the script on the night.
You cannot, Sir Patrick, you cannot.
Syrian.
Yeah, Syrian. So yeah, bad. I mean, it felt exactly the same. I like Sean Patrick Flannery, just like I like Peter Average. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, It's I've put them either in good or standard. Now I think it's time to put that in bad.
This is your first bad movie, Yann. I think this is the first one you've put in bad.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so.
For me, I am just so bitterly disappointed because the idea of bringing Gordon back is what people have been clamoring for years.
And the fact that they used that as well, it kind of annoys me.
There's so many. When I remember searching, I still was young when I got interested in Saw when Saw 6 was the latest one. So I remember Saw 3D coming out and people being excited to see it. And all these like fan theories of who the other person in the mask was. They were like, oh my god, Adam survived, even though the DVD commentary kind of hints to that it's the original two people from the trap at the beginning of this film help Gordon out. Anyway, but there were so many ideas of what that was, and also there were so many people believed that what the actual script for 7 could have been and what the actual script for 8 could have been. You know. I feel if this movie had tried, if it had been good, if it had been what 6 was, right? Because 6 was pretty decent, it just got killed by Paranormal Activity at the time. It could have just scraped through to the end and have enough steam to get 8 out. And I feel that 8 would have been the Kerry Elway's story. You know, all the things would have been wrapped up. Almost like a whole film of C plot. Which would have been nice because the C plot in the later films was some of the most interesting stuff. This film fails because the director ultimately doesn't want to be there. And I know that I understand how you would feel. Imagine if you were taken away from directing something that you know is going to be a smash success people are going to see. But the point is, whatever you end up working on reflects your work. And if you make something that is bad, people are going to look at that and go, well, it's a good job we didn't get you for Paranormal Activity 2 because look what you've just made.
That's
you know,
so true,
it's like sometimes you have to embrace what the life has gave you and get on with it and make something worthwhile.
This industry is that brutal as well, right? They would be like, oh yeah, because you made that bad film. Like, I don't know if that actually affected his
director films afterwards,
yeah, but that the industry would do something like that. I mean,
he's lucky in the sense that he has the skills as an editor. Remember, this is the guy who edited Saw 1.
Yeah, you're right.
So he's still got the editor skills. So I just feel so disappointed that this film isn't what it set out to be. There's no Kerry Elways. I mean, Kerry Elways is probably on screen for about 10 minutes max. And it just... the whole Bobby plot, the repetition of traps, the lack of interest that we have for Jill, Hoffman's the only character left that we know, and Jill, and even then I've not liked Jill for a long time, and the whole new detective stuff is just whatever. It's just bitterly disappointing for me, and this is it's just plain standard for me. I mean, I'm not angry enough to say bad. Just plain standard. This film, I would never watch it again. If I was watching the series, I would go on YouTube and watch the Dr. Gordon clips to get the resolution. In fact, there's a better edit online of the ending with an extended tape that somebody's made up for Hoffman.
Oh dear.
It might be in the extended version of the film, to be fair, but there is a version online that has like a tape play when Hoffman is shut in the room.
Oh, that's interesting.
I do, however, I found this out for research that the final soundtrack track that we have is called the Final Zap, which is the music that is very close to the original, which is nice. I know it's not the original soundtrack because it isn't, but it's close enough to be there. So I like the Dr. Gordon stuff, even though it's not developed. But in the end, it's just plain standard for me. It's disappointing. I wish that Dr. Gordon had been brought back in a more meaningful way and the film had just been about him, but it wasn't, and it fails for that reason for me.
I feel like it might have been really interesting if they hadn't used the whole apprentice thing for Amanda and Hoffman, because it's literally like you just used someone else's storyline and like made it someone else's.
Yeah.
That's the third time we see the same thing, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it would have been, how amazing would it have been if in the last film they somehow made it like, oh, it was Carrie Elways the whole time, and they hadn't used the Amanda Young Hoffman thing. Like that would have been so amazing. Like, and then,
Do John was my brother.
Well, they're trying to tie the. They're just trying to tie the loose ends so that everything
It's wrapped. Yeah, you know, you're right. This film feels like we've got to tie up all the loose ends. Let's end the series. We're done.
We get, I think, with all those, so like that's 7 movies, we get overdose quite now by the end. We don't care about the twists anymore. We just like, whatever. Okay.
We've been there, done that.
Yeah. So instead of asking you, as I've done, would you watch this film? Would you all this? I'm now going to ask you
if we were excited to have a reboot coming at some point.
No, I'm going to ask you, of the original series, where does each film stand for you? In what order would you place these films in quality, storyline, traps, whatever, your own preference? You know, what would you say if somebody went, I'm really interested in seeing the Saw films? You would say, in my opinion, the order of quality is such. Anouk? Or do you want me to go first?
I think it actually just decreases in quality each film.
So you don't have an order, do you think?
No, I think it's literally 1 to 7.
Yeah,
like it actually just decreases in quality through the numbers.
Right.
I don't think that one is better than the other. I know that you enjoy 6 better than maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, I have an order ready to go.
Me too.
All right, so
Okay.
I'll go last. Yann?
1, 2, 3, 6, 4, 5, 7.
Yep, that's quite good. For me, it is 1, 3, 2, 6, 4, 5, 7.
That's actually, I think I would agree with that.
So Saw 1, Saw 3, Saw 2, Saw 6, Saw 4, Saw 5, Saw 7.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put them as a link, a description at the bottom of the last episode on this one as well, so our order is there for you. I just feel that in the grand scheme of things, I like 3 because it went back and told some new stuff. We got to see some interesting stuff. I do like the traps in 3 as well. I really do like the rack and the whole idea of having to, like, it really does play with the whole rebirth idea of like try to rehabilitate a character.
Yeah,
and
it does.
And it's a lot of John. 2, I'm not so keen on the traps as much, but I like the John. I like more of Jigsaw in that film. So, you know, that they're in a parallel for me, 3 and 2, but I think 3 comes out on top. 6 I like because it's just so much better than like 5 and 4. You know, it like does something new. It feels a bit fresher. It's got some interesting traps.
I think the health insurance thing is really interesting because I think everyone understands how horrible that whole industry is, so it's really interesting that that's brought back, and it brings out like economic and social, you know, so it's quite intelligently done, which is nice.
4 is bad for me. It was as bad. I didn't remember it being as bad as it was, but
I don't remember what 4 or 5 is.
4 is the one where it's Rig and he goes to the different houses and we see all the people that have already been tested. The guy with the stab in his eyes and Costas Mandalore and
that's lazy. That film is lazy.
Donnie Wahlberg gets his head smashed in by some ice cubes.
Yeah, that film is lazy. The thing is that we saw 2 and 3. They have a really good way of like making sure that all of there are so many actors in quite a lot of these films, and each one is like well-rounded. Like we know why they end, when they end. You know, like it's intelligently done, and each person gets what they're due. Right? With that film, I feel like it's just really late. It's like they try and do the same thing, but they don't know how to like develop each character.
Yeah, I agree with that. Then 5 was just so boring for me. It was just tediously boring, and it had the Strom exposition, detective exposition, Bluetooth. Bluetooth man.
5 is actually closer to 7. Definitely.
So I feel if somebody asked me, is there a film you could skip? I would skip 5.
And 7.
Well, I would go online and find like the Dr. Gordon stuff. Watch the Dr. Gordon stuff of 7, I would say, because it's only like 10 minutes,
so.
you know?
Yeah,
but
I
the
guess
rest of
so.
it you don't need.
But also, I feel like if he didn't come back, it's fine because
Sorry.
Oh, wait. That's interesting.
I know. Just start again.
Okay. I feel like, yeah, it's great that he came back, and it's like a well-rounded way of being like, oh yeah, Lawrence Gordon was in on it the whole time, blah blah blah. But actually, if we didn't have it, it wouldn't add or take away anything.
I guess not. No.
Because of how badly they did it. If they did
That's
it well, it would have been everything.
That's true.
And that's why it disappoints you so much, because it would have been incredible. But because it's done so badly, I wouldn't be like, oh, if you miss 7, it wouldn't be the end of the world.
No, you're right. You're very right.
In conclusion, do we have any? Well, I'd just like to apologize to. So, Aristotle, mate, I know you must be spinning in your grave right now, but it's just films.
I know. I did toy with the idea in this series of introducing you guys to the 7 plots, which is the Greek idea that there are only 7 stories, there are only 7 plot lines, you know. But I couldn't think of a way to bring that in here because all the movies kind of do the same thing. So
Maybe we'll do it with Jigsaw.
Yeah,
if we do that again.
Yeah, I might bring it in with some other movies. We might make it a feature of like, guys, what story was this? What elements of that from now on? But I feel like these were too similar for me to go like, we just kind of be saying the same thing.
Yeah,
it's interesting discussions. There are also in magic number of effects, vanishing, transformation. So that's I've never heard about this one you just talked about.
The 7 plots. It's interesting. You should look into it. It's like the 7 plots are man versus monster. Quest,
Voyage and
Return, Rebirth and is it Rebirth and?
It's just Rebirth.
It's just Rebirth, comedy, tragedy,
of course.
And there's one other one I've forgotten.
Oh no.
Comedy, tragedy.
I can't remember it.
I don't know, but there is one that we should definitely, while you're trying to figure out or remember, read is either, well, there is obviously Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is the father of all story structure, telling stuff, and the the new version by Christopher Vogler, which we see the cop in Filth reading their hero's journey.
Rags to Riches is the other one.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
That'll be interesting. We should throw these in and have a think about that.
Yeah, that's weird because, well, it's a bit vague and vast, tragedy and comedy, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
it's about like what the story is in its like crudest form.
Well, tragedy is the idea of like
loss.
It's like you fall to your shortcomings, like Macbeth. You know, Macbeth's fall from tragedy is he's a likable character, but he is swayed by his own like idea of becoming king. Like that is fed into him, and the tragedy is that he lets that one folly undoes him.
That's the one I still miss and need to be obsessed about. I finally watched Othello with Mark Rylance. It was a nice introduction. Mm-hmm. I finally watched King Lear with Ian McKellen at NT Live.
There you go. With Othello, the tragedy is that Othello he's a great character. He's really strong. He's all this, but his one folly and the thing that undoes him is that he believes Iago that Desdemona has cheated on him, doesn't love him,
and then his jealousy is like
overdoes him.
Well, so with these, they all have a few sentences of what they mean, so that clears things up a little bit. It's not just that one thing. Yeah. It's got sentences. So we'll go through
do some research for the episodes.
We'll go through it later on.
Anyway. Thank you for joining us for the voyage through the original Saw series. We will record a adaptation of our Jigsaw episode where we discuss probably the B plot, which we didn't discuss at all in the original episode, and our feelings having watched these films going into it. Like, we'll be more critical. In the first version of Jigsaw, which we will all listen to back before recording the episode, so we know what we said, that we can pick up on points.
Yeah.
I remember mostly gushing that I was able to see a Saw film in a cinema, which I was really excited for. So now we'll be able to watch this film and look at it and go, is this worthy of the Jigsaw legacy? Which ironically it was called Saw Legacy, and then they renamed it in the year it came out.
So
Okay.
this was Sock. So 7, so 3D, so the last chapter.
Game over.
Yes, game
Listener.
over.
Slamming doors. Slamming doors. Slamming doors. All
I don't know
right.
if I'd be retiring my Cyberdog heart skeleton t-shirt or use it for the jigsaw. Anyway, thanks again for listening. As always, we were
Adam.
Anouk.
and Yann. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Good, the Bad, and the Just Plain Standard podcast. If you like what you heard, you can leave us a review via iTunes. If you want to keep up to date with what we're doing, you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Good, Bad, Standard Podcast on both platforms. If you fancy seeing the live streams that we talk about on the podcast, they can be found on youtube.com. You search for Milk in a Wineglass. There are other bits and bobs on there too, just to see what Yann's up to during the week. And if you really like us, like really, really like us, why don't you head on over to patreon.com/goodbadstandardpodcast and have a look if you want to support us. Any small donation is appreciated.